Hi guys, and welcome to the first episode of Add This to Your Playlist Vol.1. My name's E-Man, and the aim of this show is to give you guys, the listeners, a better understanding of some of the best tracks, in my opinion, that are currently out there. So if you're into music like I am, you're going to want to keep it locked. We're going to focus on hip-hop, R&B, a bit of Afro, a bit of house, and everything else in between. This can be from the UK, the US, or Japan. But if it's banging, we're going to add that to the playlist. So you're probably wondering, why the hell does anyone care about playlists? Well, for me personally, like playlists are my life. Like depending on what mood I'm in, depending on what I'm doing, I've got a playlist for that. If I'm working out, I'm putting on the hype playlist, all the sort of banging tracks. If I've got like a chilled out situation, I'm putting on my melodies and harmonies playlist for all the slow down, easy tracks. Or I have like a bubblers playlist, which is just like loads of random stuff that get me through my day. So this is why I thought, you know what, let me try and bring this out to the people as well. So what I'm gonna do, each week I'm gonna be suggesting 15 songs, which I feel you can add to your playlist just to take them to the next level. Like these are gonna be new tracks, maybe a couple of not so new tracks, and also maybe some oldies as well, just to kind of mix things up. Each playlist I do make is gonna be added to the description down below, and it's gonna be available on Apple and Spotify. So please add them up. Or if you want, you can just take some of those tracks and add them to your own playlist. It's all good to go. All right, so without further ado, let's just get into it. So the first track I'm gonna be talking about is by one of my favorite artists, man. Like this guy is just on a whole nother level, man. He sings, he like produces, he can play the drums, he can play the guitar, he's energetic, and he's like, his dress sense is weird as hell, but he's a ledge. I actually went to go see this guy in Ali Pali a couple of years ago, and yeah, he was amazing. So the first track I want to get into is by a guy called Alison. Obviously with everything that's going on in the world right now, he released a track called Lockdown, and the tune is just amazing, man. Like the sort of synths, the sort of beats, his sort of like cadence on the track is just mad. But one thing that kind of did let me down is on the YouTube version, you've got like a verse from J-Rock, which I felt was amazing, but on the Apple version, I don't think you can get it. But still, same way, the track's banging. Give it a listen. I'll play a little snippet for you now, but you need this in your playlist or in your rotation. Let's go. Alright, so the second track I'm going to get into is by a UK group, or a group from East London, probably one of like the biggest groups in the UK right now. Like, if we're being honest, this track is called Lupita, and it's by those guys called NSG. You know, like I really rate what they're doing. You know, they come with that sort of UK/Afro sort of, you know, a little bit of bashment in there as well. But this Lupita track is really good, man. The production and, you know, everything's really crisp on it. This is my track number 2. Really good. Give it a listen. Alright, so the next track I'm gonna get into, the third track, is from the late great rapper Pop Smoke. His album actually released this week, RIP to him. And you know, there were a couple of tracks I like on the album and a couple of tracks I didn't really like, but this track here is probably one of my favorites. And it also features Puff Daddy's son, King Combs. People are kind of indifferent on him as a rapper, but I think he works really well. Also as well, like the sample that he uses, like here's another thing as well. Once I do more of these sort of like episodes, you'll start realizing I'm a big fan of 90s R&B, because for me personally, that was the best era for R&B, full stop. This is just using one of those sort of samples, and you know, it's kind of like the Drake sort of sample slowed down sort of thing, and you know, it's used here and it's used quite well. So yeah, that's my number 3 pick for your playlist. So yeah, the fourth choice is from a guy called Reema, a Nigerian artist who actually had like a breakthrough song called Dumebi. Big track in Afro beats world. Like it blew up like in raves, all of, like in London, in Africa, and it kind of like made him like a household name. So he's had a couple of releases quite recently. But I think this is probably like one of his best tracks since that. And yeah, it's kind of his sort of signature, you know, I don't know, like it's sort of like the way he kind of spits is kind of like some sort of Arabic sounding sort of, I don't know, like you'll listen to the track and you'll hear it, but yeah, it's just like an Afrobeat, summertime, chill track, man. And yeah, it's really, really good. So that's my 4th choice for your playlist. Alright, so the 5th track is actually from a guy who I'm a really, really big fan of. I actually went to see him in Oval Space in Bethnal Green. He's a little bit more on the sort of indie side of things, but he has collaborated with, you know, Tyler, the Creator, I think Travis Scott as well. So he kind of delves in both worlds. But I think he's a great artist on himself anyway. And it's a guy called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but I'm gonna say it, Toro Y Moi. And this is a bit more of an indie track. And I think it's actually sort of, all the proceeds that kind of go from this track are going to be donated to some sort of charity, which is really, really good. But yeah, he's my guy, man. You know, like, look, not every day I'm going to listen to flipping hip hop, R&B, and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. Sometimes I might delve into something else, but this guy kind of fills that void for me. So yeah, check this out. So that's my fifth track. It's Toro Y Moi and Ordinary Guy. Alright, so for my 6th track, it's actually from a guy called Larry June. I had no idea about this guy. I kind of knew the producer he's working with on this project. The producer's called Cardo. And if you're like a Wiz Khalifa fan or a Currency fan, you're gonna know who Cardo is, because Cardo kind of produced for both of those guys, and he kind of brings that sort of authentic West Coast sound. Larry June is kind of like a name I've kind of heard like on different sort of tracks, but I've never really focused on him sort of thing. So once this project sort of dropped, Cardo and Larry June, I think it's called Cruise USA, I gave that a listen, and man, it's exactly what I want to hear. Like when you want to hear that West Coast sort of vibey, Dom Kennedy sort of vibe, like he's on that point. And to be fair, let me not lie, my cousin, Krista Capo, he's the one that actually put me onto this project. And honestly, man, like, it's what I want to hear. Like, you can just imagine yourself, summer's day, just chilling. You got, like, just cruising along. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you might wear, like, some fresh white Air Forces, you know, like I don't know, like an LA hat or whatever. Like, it kind of puts you in that sort of vibe. So, yeah, like, the next track is from a guy called Larry June. And, yeah, that's my 6th recommendation to add to your playlist. Alright, so the 7th track is by a lady called Teyana Taylor, and it features Rick Ross and also her daughter, Junie. And yeah, this is a smooth track, man. A smooth track. Like, I think Rick Ross, I don't know how much he had to do with like the beat selection or whatever, but you know, the way he comes in on the start of the track is just like so, like I call it luxury Rick Ross rap. It's just like him just flowing on the beat effortlessly. And yeah, this is a really, really good track. It's like it kind of reminds me of the Alicia Keys song "You Don't Know My Name." It's kind of got like that sample looped in the background, and you know, the little piano bits in it as well, and it is a really, really, really nice track. And you know what, I'm happy for Teyana Taylor, because I know she's been through a lot in terms of like getting her album out or whatever, and I did listen to her latest album, and it is actually quite good. So yeah, this is my 7th track recommendation for you lot, and yeah, it's a really, really good one, really, really good. Alright, so my 8th recommendation is a track called Ungodly Hour by Chloe and Hailey. Now look, don't get onto me, but like I have no idea who these girls are. I think they're some sort of like, I don't know, Disney characters. No, actually, tell a lie, I think Chloe, is gonna be like the Little Mermaid in the upcoming live action film. So, you know, like they've got their own sort of music thing going as well. But yeah, this track, like, I think they released a track called Do It, which was really, really good. I really, really liked it. It had like a nice little bop to it. I might actually add that to my next week's playlist or my next video. After hearing Do It, I thought, you know what, let me just listen to the album as well. And there were a couple of good tracks on there, which we'll probably add as we go along. This one was a nice little bop. It has a nice little bop to it, and you know, if you're a fan of K Tronada and his sort of production, it kind of reminds me of that as well. And those two girls, man, they can sing. They can sing. They can really, really sing. Like their harmonies, like there's a lot of videos going around of their sort of like harmonizing to songs and stuff like that, and they're really, really good. So yeah, this is my eighth recommendation, and yeah, it's a track called Ungodly Hour by Chloe and Hailey. Alright, so for my ninth track, it's actually a collaboration between a couple of artists, a couple of UK artists actually, it's from a project released by GRM Daily or GRM Daily, and it's actually, the project's called GRM 10. The tune is featuring, I think, Nave Smalls, Scraps, Young Bane, and Blade Brown. And yeah, man, like, you know, sometimes you just want to hear, that, innit? You just want to hear some raps. You want to hear some, not positive things. Sometimes you might want to hear about how someone is moving boxes or moving this from country line to country line, man. Like, let's not lie. Music is entertainment or whatever. But no, this is a really, really good track, and you know, it really highlights how far like the UK scene has come. Like, you know, when I was growing up, it was always like, we always looked to the Americans as, you know, like the blueprint for everything. Well, and to be fair, they kind of are, but, you know, at the same time, we're putting out quality music as well, and this is just another testament to that, you know, and the video is really, really good as well. So yeah, the track's actually called Faith in My Killie, and yeah, it's a great link up by all those artists. So yeah, that's my ninth recommendation to add to your playlist. Yeah, so for my 10th track, it's actually a song from some South African artists. I think this is how you pronounce the name, Kabaza de la Small, and a guy called Howard. And this track is actually called Mojo Low. And yeah, like, this whole South African house wave is, for me, like, obviously, if we didn't have COVID, I'd be out at like a daytime party, and this South African house would be banging out, and that would be my ideal like summertime vibe right now, because the South African house thing is crazy, man. There's so many beats. I picked up on one maybe like a couple of months ago, and then I was so like blown away by, you know, the different sort of style from, you know, what's currently out there in terms of house music. I kind of latched onto it straight away, and you know what, it's I say different, but at the same time it was kind of familiar, because, you know, Afro house has been around for a long time. I know there's people like Black Coffee who's been putting out music for ages, and you know, even big artists have picked up on that sort of sound and kind of used it on their projects as well. So this scene is growing, like it's growing, it's getting massive now, and what I'm trying to do is just trying to pick little tracks here and there and just try and listen to as much of it as possible, and kind of take little tracks that I find are really, really good. And you know, I grew up in a time where, you know, there was funky house, and we was in raves doing the migrants, skank and all of that sort of stuff. So like, this is kind of like a little bit close to that as well, and it kind of is a little bit of nostalgia, but it's kind of like an updated sort of theme. But yeah, I really, really, really like this track. It is definitely something I'm going to be playing when I have like a barbecue at my place. Like, it's going to be on in the background, and I'm going to try and bust 1-2 moves to it. Will I do it properly? Who knows? Yeah, so this is Mojo Low, and that's my 10th recommendation to add to your playlist. Alright, so my 11th track is from a South London artist called Suspect. And yeah, man, like I've been a fan of this guy since, where did I go? Oh yeah, I remember going to a Future concert. It was at Brixton, O2 Brixton Academy. And I remember, like, you know, before the main artist comes out, you kind of have like the DJ warming up the crowd, and the DJ will be putting out tracks, and everyone's getting hype and this, that and the other. And I remember this song came on, like, one of his songs came on. I think it's called FBG. Obviously, being in South London, in Brixton, obviously you have like a predominantly South London audience, so they're obviously on that sound or on that artist already. And when that song came on, the way people went crazy, the way people lost their minds, and you know, everyone went mad for it. I was like, what the hell is this? You know, what the hell is this? And like, people were screaming out the lyrics, like girls smaller than me was shouting out the lyrics. I was like, wow, this is a hype. So obviously I went back, listened to that song, and I realized, okay, this Suspect guy, he's actually got a big tune here, you know. And then I, you know, invested a little bit more time in him, and I listened to his project, and his project was really, really good. And then he released another one as well, which is really, really good. And you know, he went away for a bit, and now he's back with another track called No Gimmicks. And yeah, this No Gimmicks song, yeah, I'm feeling it, man. Like, I don't mind the West Coast vibe. You know, the West Coast vibe is really, really good. Like, and that's what I feel like he's done here, while he still kind of keeps his sort of authentic Suspect sort of sound, you know. He's one of my favorite UK rappers, hands down. Like, definitely one of my favorite UK rappers. And you know, for that sort of street sort of side of things, he definitely kind of feels that sort of vibe. So yeah, like, this is a really, really good song, no gimmicks. And yeah, check it out, man. Add it to your playlist. So that's my 11th track suggested for you. Alright, so the 12th track I'm going to recommend to you guys is a track from a UK house duo called Disclosure. I'm sure you guys have heard of them. They've had like chart-topping sort of songs in the UK. Yeah, they kind of bring back that sort of old school garage sort of sound and kind of mesh that with a sort of new sort of housey sound as well. I'm a fan of these guys. I remember when I was over in Ibiza, one of the first artists me and the boys went to see was Disclosure. They were part of like an Animac sort of Animac Presents sort of show, and Disclosure came on, and yeah, man, it was crazy. It was crazy, like, you know, out there in the sun, and yeah, it was one of those kind of nights that I'll never ever forget, you know. And yeah, they're back with this track. They've released a couple other singles, and this is one of my favorites they've released. I think this from an upcoming album due to release in August. But yeah, man, this song kind of takes me back to Ibiza when I hear it, and it also kind of just reminds me of that sort of, like I said, pure garage sort of days, like me walking down to the market and buying that Pure Garage CD and putting those tunes on and those blaring. Yeah, man, it reminds me of summer, man. It reminds me of summer. So yeah, I recommend this track. This track is called Ecstasy, and it's my track number 12 recommendation for your playlist. Alright, so for my 13th track, I'm gonna recommend a North London or Northwest London artist. I don't know what Camden comes under. From a guy called Ambush. He had a big track, I think it was last summer or maybe the summer before. He had a big track called Jumpy, which was just like when you went to the clubs in like the sort of, you know, hip hop or clubs or wherever, you know, that tune was ringing off. That tune was shutting things down. I think I went to some sort of grime daily or GRM daily like concert. And I remember he performed that track there, and honestly, man, like, you know, if you've been to, where is it, Coco, and you know, I think we was on like the sort of like the stools. We were on the stools bit, man. People were jumping up and down off those stools, and I was thinking, you know what, someone's gonna end up flying off one of these things, man. That's how hyped the place was. But yeah, he's back with a new project called Ask My Brother. So this track is like the intro for that project, and yeah, this is one of my favorite tracks. He just got like that sort of, you know, loudmouth, I'm saying what I'm saying, I don't care what you're talking about sort of thing, and he just comes through with it, like, and it's a kind of like, it reminds me of like a Ludacris sort of move, get out the way sort of thing, you know. It's kind of like that sort of presence on the mic, like he's coming in, he's saying what he's saying sort of thing. So yeah, nah, this is a really big track, one of my favorites, and yeah, I'll definitely recommend that you add this to your playlist. Yeah, so the 14th track I'm gonna tell you guys about is from an artist called Freddie Gibbs, and he's an American artist who has been on the hip hop scene for quite a while now, but he's been releasing like of late like some of the best projects I think in his career. He's linked up with another American producer called The Alchemist, and if you're a hip hop fan or you're into hip hop, you're gonna know who Alchemist is. Alchemist is probably one of the greatest producers in hip hop history. Like there's no debate. There's no debate. Like Mobb Deep, he's produced countless classics for those guys, and you know, all across the sort of hip hop world, he's put out hits for years upon years. Him and Freddie have linked up, and they dropped this project maybe a couple of weeks back now. I've been having a lot of those songs in heavy rotations, full stop. Like I've been there on my playlist because the project is just great. And this track is basically featuring another artist called Conway the Machine. He's part of a hip hop group called Griselda, and they've been around for a while, but I think most recently, I think over the last 2 years, they've kind of like come to the sort of forefront of the hip hop, like, you know, rap hip hop scene, and you know, they're just those grimy New York sort of rappers, you know, if you're gonna talk about like the Wu-Tang guys, if you're gonna talk about, you know, the G-Unit guys, like they're in that sort of mold, you know, and they're so refreshing, you know. There's nothing wrong with all different types of hip hop, but me as like a sort of fan of Mobb Deep, a fan of, you know, the Locks, the fan of like Rough Riders, the fan of the old school Rockefeller, you know, that sort of hip hop. Like if I hear that, I'm on it, I'm involved. So yeah, this is a track where they kind of like the production on it is just so sweet and smooth, man. It's such a sweet and smooth track. Like honestly, like a really, really good song. And yeah, I definitely recommend that you add this to your playlist. All right, so my final track is from a lady called Kalani. I hope that's how you pronounce her name, right? She released a project this year as well, which is a good project. Like I said, I don't mind a bit on R&B. I'm always in for the sort of smooth vibes. And yeah, this track's called, I think, Hate the Club. And yeah, I think her voice is probably one of the nicest voices in like the R&B world, man. She's got her own sort of distinctive sound. Yeah, and this is another nice sort of like slow sort of, you know, nod your head. Maybe if you're in your feelings, maybe if you've just been through some sort of breakup or whatever, like this will have you like taking shots, like, you know, if you're in that sort of mode, you know, if you've been through that. So, you know, it's got a nice little riff with the saxophone, I think it is, and yeah, it's a nice little like vibers sort of thing, and yeah, it can definitely put you in your feelings, you know, it can definitely put you in your feelings. But yeah, it's a great track. So yeah, that's my final recommendation to add to your playlist. All right, so that's it. So thank you so much for, you know, taking the time out to, you know, go through those tracks and listen to my recommendations. Like I said, you know, these are tracks that, in my opinion, are some of the best tracks out at the moment. And, you know, next week, I'm going to try and give you another batch of tracks that I feel are great. And, you know, if you're not really feeling my list, or you think, oh, you know what, that song's rubbish or whatever, just let me know in the comments, you know, just give a comment. And also as well, if you want to, you know, recommend some songs to me or recommend some projects that I need to listen to, yeah, just let me know in the comments. All you need to do, just let me know, and then I'll listen through those albums and then maybe take some songs that I like and maybe they'll be featured on my next sort of episode. So yeah, and remember, music is subjective. Like, you know, it really just depends on different influences you've had in your life and different influences in you. So if you like one song and I don't like that song, that doesn't mean that song's rubbish. Like, it's just, you know, it's based on opinions, isn't it? So please let me know in the comments if you're feeling the list. Like I said earlier, both of the playlists will be added in my description, so they're available on Apple and Spotify. And yeah, you can kind of add those songs to your sort of weekly rotation, or you can just listen to that playlist yourself on itself, sorry. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you really enjoyed the video, just hit the subscribe button, and yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Love.